Why homeless veterans choose frozen tents over warm shelters, and what they know about survival that you don't. The temperature hits -20. Your body starts shutting down in under 30 minutes. So why do thousands of homeless people deliberately choose flimsy tents over heated shelters during the deadliest blizzards? What they know might completely contradict everything you've been taught about staying alive in the cold. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Cold doesn't kill homeless people first. Moisture does. Sounds backwards, right? You'd think the guy shivering in a tent during a blizzard is dying from freezing temperatures. Nope, he is dying because his clothes are wet. The science of why wet kills fast. Damp clothing completely destroys insulation. We're talking double the heat loss, sometimes triple. Your body becomes a radiator, pumping warmth straight into the frozen air. And the cruel part, the moisture usually comes from you. Sweat is the silent killer nobody warns you about. I learned this during a winter camping trip in my 20s. Rushed to set up camp, worked up a good sweat, felt pretty proud of myself. Then night hit. That dampness turned to ice crystals against my skin. Longest night of my life. And I had a car to escape to. Homeless tent dwellers don't have that luxury. So the veterans do something that seems completely insane. They start cold. They intentionally move slow during setup, keeping their body temperature low, refusing to let sweat form. Looks lazy. It is actually genius. Your breath pumps moisture all night long, silently soaking your sleeping bag, your blankets, everything. This is why experienced survivors rotate scarves and face coverings constantly, dry them out before they become ice masks. And cotton, absolute death sentence. Once wet, cotton takes over 24 hours to dry in freezing conditions. That is time nobody sleeping in a tent actually has. Staying dry matters more than staying warm. The sleeping bag trick outdoor companies don't advertise. Here is something most people get wrong about sleeping bags. They think one expensive bag beats everything else. Nope. Experienced tent dwellers discovered placing a cheap summer sleeping bag inside a winter-rated bag creates more warmth than a single bag rated for the same temperature. Why? 2 bags mean 2 layers of trapped air, and trapped air is what actually keeps you warm. But sleeping bags have an expiration date nobody talks about. They lose roughly 1 degree of warmth rating for every year of heavy use. That fancy -20 bag, after 3 winters of nightly compression, it is maybe a -5 bag. Crushed insulation can't trap air. No trapped air means no warmth. Most tent dwellers sleep fully dressed. Jacket, pants, socks, the works. But boots, those come off and go inside the sleeping bag. Boots left outside the bag freeze solid overnight. Ever tried jamming your foot into a frozen boot at 4 in the morning? It is about as fun as a root canal in a snowstorm. Military surplus mummy bags remain the holy grail of street survival gear. These things were designed for soldiers sleeping in combat zones. They retain heat even when slightly damp, which matters when you're breathing moisture all night. The ground is stealing your life 40 times faster than air. Here is what nobody tells you about surviving a blizzard in a tent. The roof is almost irrelevant. Your enemy is directly beneath you. Cold ground will suck body heat 40 times faster than cold air. 40 times. That frozen earth underneath your tent is basically a heat vampire working overtime. You could have the warmest sleeping bag money can buy, but sleep directly on frozen ground, and your core temperature drops to dangerous levels within 90 minutes. So what do experienced tent dwellers do? Cardboard. Seriously, that flattened box behind the grocery store becomes a genuine survival tool. Those corrugated layers contain thousands of tiny air chambers, and each one slows heat transfer. Veterans of street winters stack materials in a specific order. Plastic sheet on bottom to block ground moisture. Cardboard. Next, foam pad on top of that. Then blankets. It is basically a heat retention sandwich. Remove one layer and the whole system fails. Yoga mats salvaged from gym dumpsters have become priced street commodities. Closed cell foam blocks moisture and cold simultaneously. One mat weighs almost nothing, but adds hours of survival time. Gym rats throw these out when they get slightly worn. Tent dwellers fight over them, turning flimsy nylon into actual shelter. A standard camping tent is basically a windbreaker with ambitions, but homeless veterans of winter storms have turned these flimsy nylon shells into something approaching actual shelter. The first trick is double walling. Hang a salvage tarp about 2 inches outside your tent, and you've just created an air gap that adds roughly 10 degrees of interior warmth. Same principle as double pane windows, except it costs nothing. Most tents come with a fatal flaw: the seams. Every stitch creates a tiny hole, and cold air finds holes. Experienced survivors seal these with duct tape first, then drip candle wax over the tape. Sounds crude, works beautifully. Here is something that sounds completely backwards. Snow is insulation. Pile it against your tent walls up to 18 inches high, and you're basically building a mini igloo. Actual igloos maintain interior temperatures around 32 degrees, even when it is -40 outside. The real game changer: Mylar emergency blankets. Those crinkly silver sheets that cost $2 at any camping store. Hang one inside your tent ceiling, shiny side down, and it reflects up to 90% of your body heat back towards you. Heat sources that won't kill you. Tea candles have become survival currency on the streets. Stick 4 or 5 under an upturned terracotta pot, and you've got a miniature radiator. Can raise a small tent's temperature by 10 degrees. Not bad for something that costs about $3 total. But here is the thing nobody likes talking about. Carbon monoxide kills dozens of homeless Americans every single winter. It happens because people seal their tents too tight while running any kind of flame. You can't see it, can't smell it. You just fall asleep and don't wake up. Ventilation matters more than warmth. Always. Hand warmers are the safer bet. Those little packets you shake and stuff in your gloves. Toss 2 near your feet inside a sleeping bag, and you've got 6 to 8 hours of targeted heat, exactly where frostbite loves to start. The food math that keeps you alive. Eating snow seems logical when you're thirsty. Free water everywhere. Right? Wrong. Your body burns precious calories, heating that ice to 98.6 degrees. You're basically trading food for water during a blizzard. That math kills people. Experienced tent dwellers keep water bottles upside down. Ice forms at the top first, which becomes the bottom when inverted. Your drinking spout stays liquid and accessible. Simple physics. Peanut butter becomes gold during extreme cold, not because it tastes good, but because fat metabolism generates more body heat than carbs or protein. Your body works harder to process it. That extra work produces warmth, and alcohol doesn't work. Alcohol dilates blood vessels near your skin surface. You feel warmer initially, but that warm blood is now losing heat rapidly to the cold air. You're basically opening all your windows. During a blizzard, feels cozy for 5 minutes. Then hypothermia accelerates. Location beats equipment. Where you pitch your tent matters more than what tent you own. South-facing walls are prime real estate. Even in brutal cold, a tent against a south-facing brick wall gets passive solar heating. We were talking 20 degrees warmer inside during peak daylight hours. Free heat, no batteries required. Cities are basically giant radiators, building exhaust vents, subway grates, steam pipes from underground infrastructure. These create little pockets of warmth scattered throughout any metropolitan area. Veterans of winter streets have these locations memorized like a treasure map, and they guard that information carefully. Nobody survives a blizzard alone. That is not motivational poster nonsense. It is math. One person in one tent has one set of supplies, one body generating heat, and 0 backup if something goes wrong. Cluster 5 tents together. Now you've got wind barriers, shared resources, and someone to notice when your shelter goes quiet. Tent communities Position shelters in rough circles or lines that block wind for each other. A $40 prepaid phone with texting costs less than 3 nights in a motel, and that phone might save your life. When someone warns you about the polar vortex, dropping temperatures 30 degrees overnight. Some communities even designate night watchers during storms. These folks make rounds every few hours, checking for collapsed tents and unresponsive neighbors. It is volunteer work that pays nothing, except the knowledge someone's watching over you too. When your body starts failing, frostbite starts when skin temperature drops below 28 degrees. During blizzard conditions, that can happen in under 30 minutes. Here is the tricky part. Shivering is good. Shivering means your body's still fighting. It is when the violent shaking suddenly stops that you've got a real problem. That is hypothermia crossing into dangerous territory. Rewarming frostbitten fingers incorrectly causes more damage than the original freezing. You can't just shove frozen hands under hot water. The tissue dies from the shock. The long-term damage is what nobody talks about. Surviving one blizzard, you might walk away fine. Surviving 10 winters in tents, that is different. Many long-term homeless report permanent numbness in fingers and toes. Nerves that froze repeatedly eventually just give up. The cold doesn't just threaten your life tonight. It takes pieces of you for years to come. So yeah, when you see someone choosing a tent over a heated shelter during the next blizzard, maybe they're not crazy. Maybe they know something about moisture, ventilation, and survival that your warm apartment never taught you. Your move